Hello, welcome to this Tottenham Hotspur therapy session. Look, I think we need to talk about Tottenham. I think we just need to have a chat about Tottenham and what's going wrong, what's going right, and just figure out where we are, because the results over the last few weeks have been absolutely crazy. I don't have a clue what to think about things, the team, the manager, the players, the board, the hierarchy, all of it. And I'm sure a lot of you out there are feeling the same way too. So I thought I'd just hop on. It's currently Sunday night, about 11:30 in the evening. So it's quite late. I've just hopped off a 2-hour podcast on the Last Word on Spurs, where we sort of vented our frustrations and talked in detail and analysis about the Spurs Fulham draw 1-1 on the Sunday. So feel free to go and check that out. I'll leave a link to the episode in the comments section. But look, Tottenham have a problem, and there is one word I would use to describe the problem, and it is consistency. We have seen, over the course of Ange's 1.5 years in charge so far, the highest of the highs when it comes to performance. When it comes to what we are able to do on the pitch, we have seen some fantastic moments, some fantastic matches, even this season already. Manchester City, Aston Villa, Manchester United. Brilliant performances and brilliant team efforts. But we've also seen the lowest of the lows. Ipswich at home, Crystal Palace away, Fulham at home today. There is a huge gap between Tottenham's ceiling and how bad they can be. And we never know which one is going to turn up. And I want to try and dissect that. I want to kind of try and explain and figure out, so I'm sort of going with this as I go along, why this is happening. Why are Tottenham the way that they are under Ange Postecoglou? Well, this season, I think so far is a lot easier to break down, but I want to put it into categories. And the categories I've managed to come up with are injuries. Whether you want to label them as an excuse or not, injuries are a category. Transfers, tactics, personnel, players themselves and their attitude. 4 categories I think we need to highlight in this Tottenham therapy session to figure out what is going wrong. So let me start with the first one. Let me start with injuries. Let me start with the injuries, okay? Because it's the one that sounds like the biggest excuse and the biggest reason for why we're not doing well. So I want to talk about it. But undoubtedly it plays a part, okay? On the bench against Fulham today, Tottenham had 7 players who have not seen a minute of Premier League football so far in their careers. Okay, that shows how stretched our squad is. Manchester City are in a very similar situation to Tottenham. They're starting to get a few players back now from their injury crisis, but they have gone through an injury crisis this season. They've lost the best player in the world, as voted for, who won the Ballon d'Or, Rodri. They've lost the best player in the world. Kevin De Bruyne got injured again right at the start of the season. One of, if not the best playmaker in the world. They've had injuries to the likes of Ruben Diaz, Ederson, Haaland had a few knocks, few niggles. And it's completely derailed and disrupted that early rhythm they had in the first sort of month of the campaign. And Tottenham are starting to see that now, I think. Today against Fulham, no Vicario, no Van de Ven, no Romero, no Bentancur, no Solanke. Kulusevski was on the bench until the 70th minute. That's 7 players right there that we really, really miss. It sounds like an excuse, but I don't think it is. I think it's completely valid. And I tweeted out earlier today, perspective, and then I listed the names of the players Tottenham were missing for that match. And a few people hounded me out, and I can understand why. It may come across that I am sort of making excuses for the poor performances. I'm not. I am absolutely not. I can promise you right now, having watched that game today, having watched that first half being furious at half time, and then getting even angrier in the second half, I am just as frustrated as most of you watching this video. I am. But my attitude towards Tottenham that I've developed over the last year or so is to always try and look with a balanced viewpoint. Always have a neutral pair of glasses on as much as I can and look at it from balance. Okay, what's going wrong? What's going right? Is it Ange's fault? Is it not? Is it just mitigating factors that are out of his control? And with the injury sense, they are. 6 strong players from that starting 11 did not play against Fulham today. Half the team, over half of the team that would be starting, did not start. We cannot continue making excuses for why we're not picking up points at home against teams like Fulham. No offence to Fulham, I know they're having a brilliant season, but every Tottenham fan will tell you we should have won that game. There's no point making excuses in that sense. But if we have them fit and available, I do still think it's a very different game. Different situation. On the other hand, you look at the Ipswich game, most of those players did play and we still lost. And that kind of sort of counteracts the argument that injuries are playing a huge factor. But ultimately, with 2 games a week, with the Europa League, and then having to turn around within 3 days for a Premier League game, it's a lot on a stretch squad with a lot of starters out. It's undeniable, and that's all I want to say on it. It's having an impact. The injuries are hurting us a lot at the moment. So it's worth bearing that in mind over the next couple of weeks. The next thing I want to talk about is transfers, because it links to the injury crisis. Because with all of these injuries, we have noticed and we can see clear as day right now, Tottenham's squad is not deep enough. There is nowhere near enough depth in the Tottenham squad. There just isn't. In attack, the front 3 today we played was Brennan Johnson, Heung-min Son, Timo Werner. And we didn't really have anyone to bring on in those positions. You could argue Kulusevski, but we know that we want to see him in a maybe more central role. Centre-backs, okay, maybe we are covered in that department. Dragusin and Ben Davies, I thought, had a brilliant game today. Fraser Forster had a good game, but he is old, no offence to the bloke, and we need to be going out in January and signing a replacement to cover Vicario while he's out for the next couple of months. I think midfield we lack. Lucas Bergvall and Archie Gray both came on in the game, and I think looking back on it now, Ange's comments or the reports that were made suggesting that Tottenham has been so impressed with the development and progression of Archie Gray and Lucas Bergvall, they didn't feel the need to sign a new midfielder in the summer, I think is now hilarious. I think it is really naive, and it's catching up to us and biting us in the backside now. Strikers. In my opinion, again, I like the bloke, but Richarlison should have been moved on in the summer. He cannot stay fit. He's not reliable. And Solanke's having to put in all of the groundwork, and his body can't cope. He missed out today through illness, so Sonny had to play up top, and he struggled. Sonny's been injured this season a lot as well. He's had a really, really tough campaign so far. The transfer situation is really baffling to me because on paper, it looks like we spent a lot of money with the Archie Gray deal, 40 million. Dominic Solanke, 60 million. Those types of players. Radi Dragusin, but we still lack in a lot of positions. I mean, Sergio Reguilon was in the matchday squad today to cover for left back. Like, we need a new fullback for sure. We need to deepen in that position. We need a midfielder for sure. And I think we need another striker and a goalkeeper. So transfers haven't been done right. They haven't been done sensibly. And that obviously comes from the top down. That does come from the top down. But linking it all together once again, tactics. Ange has to look at this run of games coming up now in December and consider, does the thin squad that he has available to him at the moment have the capability to play at 100 mile an hour, attacking front foot, aggressive football twice a week until the end of the year, until we start getting some players back? I personally don't think they do. I love watching us play when we're on it and when we're great, but it's looking a bit unsustainable because of the lack of squad depth we have at the moment. Kulusevski had to be rested today, so I only played 20 minutes because the work is hard. I think Ange has described it as we train as we play. So the same intensity in training as it would be on a match day. That's a problem. That's tiring. That's breaking the players down. That's why we're picking up a lot of injuries. I also think Ange's use of substitutions has been a little bit questionable over the last few weeks in particular. Like today, the subs, when Fulham went down to 10 men today, he brought on Lucas Bergvall and Archie Gray, left Will Lancashire on the bench, and brought Will Lancashire on with about 3-4 minutes left to go in added time. Go for it. It's 1-1. They're a man down. They're happy to just sit on their own box at this point. Stick another striker on the pitch earlier. Go for it. Move to a 4-4-2. Adapt. Adapt to what's in front of you. And I don't think Ange does that enough. And look, I've said this a million times, but I'll say it again before people do come at me in the comments. I want Ange to succeed. I'm behind him. I want him to stay at the club. 100%. I want him to do well. But I do still think there's a lot that he's not necessarily doing right. And that's my opinion. You may disagree with me. Feel free to let me know. But yeah, that's my opinion on that. I mean, again, Pedro Porro and Destiny Udogie looked knackered today. They looked so tired. But Jed Spence is sitting there on the bench, doing nothing. I really like him. I think he is more than worthy of Premier League minutes. I think the cameos he has made this season have been really good. So why not stick him on the pitch? Why not give him and the team that added set of fresh legs? We know Spence loves to drive with the ball. Pedro Porro looked absolutely knackered in particular. So there's aspects of that really, really struggle. I think he has adapted defensively, Ange, because he knows that Radu Dragusin and Ben Davies cannot play that high line as well as Van der Ven and Romero, and they don't have the pace to cover it. But I think that he's adapted in that sense, but maybe in an attacking sense and a pressing sense, particularly without Solanke today, who we know does the majority of the running for Tottenham. It just felt like it needed something different. And Ange kind of needs to take that approach for the next few games. Narrow pitch against Bournemouth on Thursday, who like to suffocate. Are we going to play out from the back and around that with Fraser Forster in goal? Are we going to press high up the pitch and suffocate them? Who knows? And then Chelsea will love it if we come onto them on Sunday and press them high. So there's a lot to consider in that sense. So, you know, we've said injuries are a problem. Injuries are why we may be inconsistent. Transfers may be a reason for inconsistency because the players aren't ready yet. They're not at that level when they perform at that level consistently. Tactics, they're not perfect. There's a lot of work that needs doing in that aspect. And then the final category, personnel, leadership, mentality. I said on the Last Word on Spurs podcast earlier, I'm not sure if or how much we've improved since the end of the Pochettino days, considering where we are as a club and the money we've spent and what we've done. I think we've lost a lot of leaders from the team. Players, they weren't necessarily good, but people like Harry Kane, people like Eric Dyer, people like Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, undoubtedly all leaders in the squad, and we've lost that. And I look at our leaders now in the team. Obviously, Sonny is captain, James Maddison, nice guys. Are they going to give you a rollicking when? Are they going to give you a dressing down when they need to and get aggressive and get angry at you and in your face? Okay, Romero might do that, Vicario might do that, and they're in the leadership group. But also, do these players have the mentality to go up that level? I know they all want to play at the highest level. I know they want to be that top team. Is the mentality there? Is the belief to go that step further there? I think that's a deep-rooted issue at Tottenham. And I think that stems from the top down. I think Tottenham, as a football club, have been given the capacity and the facilities to compete for European football, but no more than that. I do think to an extent Ange has been our most backed manager in a long, long time. But I think we have a squad at the moment that is capable of doing well, but not of challenging for anything major. And of course, I say this ahead of the Manchester United Cup game, ahead of the FA Cup games. It's not out of the question that Tottenham can win silverware this season, but I struggle to picture it in my head as things stand. We need leaders out on the pitch, and I only see a few true leaders, people that are willing to step up when it matters. The person I have in mind is Dejan Kulusevski. He will pick things up. He will grab it by the scruff of the neck and he will play. He will drive. He will try and do it on his own if he has to. To an extent, Bentancur, when he's on the pitch, is like that as well. Vicario is like that on the pitch as well. But other than that, maybe not. Sonny's not been on it enough this season. Madders' form has been up and down. Brennan Johnson, Timo Werner, they're quiet guys. Solanke, it's his first season at the club. He's still finding his feet. Romero, okay, yes. Maybe to an extent. But I feel like we need this team to come together now. We need the boys to come together as a team, unite, and get the fans on side. The fans are so divided at the moment. So divided on Ange, so divided on a lot of players. There's a lot of hate spewing out on social media. Tensions are high. We really need the team to step up now and get everyone back on the same side. Until that happens, success isn't going to be at the football club. There isn't going to be success at the football club until that happens. Unity, momentum, belief, consistency. We need all of that if we're going to improve. There's a few big games on the horizon. Big games. Chelsea, Manchester United, Liverpool. Big games. We have to be ready for them. We have to step up. We have to deal with the problems that we have, and we have to find a way to win games. That's the most important thing. Find a way to win games. And we just need to start to rebuild as a fan base, as a team, and see where it leads us. I just feel like those are the main problems at Tottenham at the moment. That's what needs addressing. That's what we needed to talk about. If we can solve those 4 problems, those 4 categories that I mentioned, then I think we'll be on the right path. But for me, there's still a long way to go until that happens, unfortunately. But let me know what you think down in the comments. What are the big problems at Tottenham? What can we do to solve them? And how can we get things back on track going into the busiest part of the year? I hope you've enjoyed this therapy session. Leave a like on the video if you did, and subscribe to the channel if you are new around here. Lots of games coming up, so there'll be lots of content on the channel. So make sure you stick around, stick the notification bell on as well if you would like to. And yeah, try and enjoy your week. Tottenham are back on Thursday. Big game against Bournemouth. Let's see what happens. And yeah, as always, come on you Spurs.